All right, we're going to call the meeting to order. Rock and roll. Any adds to the agenda? Changes? I just have one that I'm going to add, which is just to bring the discussion of the grader up again, and I'll put that.
Oh, good.
Under 12. Our first order of business then is to approve the meeting minutes from June 17th.
I'll make a motion we approve them.
Any discussion?
Second. This is lame butter. Want to sign it, buddy?
Yeah.
That brings us to open discussion. Is there anything anybody would like to raise? Open discussion, Carol. Is there anything anybody wanted to raise?
Yeah, I just want to stand up.
Sure. No, you don't have to.
Okay.
Just
No, I just wanted to ask you if you could, so I see on here we have a possible executive session.
yes.
So do you have, is that going to be an executive session? Do you have
It's an HR issue. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Human resources issue.
Oh, okay.
Yep, and that's it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And there will be notes about that. Angela takes notes from any executive session that we have.
Oh, and are they available to us then?
Those aren't available? No? Okay. Because they usually involve names and I guess of whoever we're discussing as an employment thing. So we can't violate employment law.
No, I understand that.
But that's all we discuss.
Yeah, it seems because we have a lot of executive sessions, and so,
Yeah.
sometimes it's helpful to know actually, we should know
Yeah.
what the topic is.
Yeah, and we try to limit them, really, unless it's human resources related. There are very few.
Thank you.
Yep. We also have a letter of resignation from Elaine Polly as our treasurer. And this was planned, Elaine's retirement. Okay. We actually had a retirement party for her on Friday, so no surprise. But from Elaine, please accept my resignation from the office of treasurer for the town of Plymouth effective Monday, July 15th. I'll be available as needed to assist the new treasurer during the transition period. I'm grateful to you and all the town employees for your support these last 8 years. I feel working here has been one of the most fulfilling jobs I've ever had. My only regret in leaving is that I will miss all of you very much. Respectfully, Elaine Polly.
I make a motion that we accept the letter of resignation.
I'll second. All in favor?
Right.
And that leaves us to appoint a new treasurer. And I would make a motion to appoint Cherry Nicole as our new treasurer.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Cherry. And Cherry has done amazing work as our FEMA administrator. Yeah. And word has it, we are so far ahead of other towns in that work, getting reimbursements. So just an incredible amount of work by Cherry.
It's a teamwork. Everybody helps each other.
Okay, that brings us to reviewing the child care contribution law expense. And I'm gonna have to read a little bit about this. I am not totally up to speed, so. But I do believe we have to decide whether we charge employees or cover it ourselves as a town.
Yeah, you have the option of services or after
We can pass on a certain amount. Or you pay, so.
Okay. So it's less than 0.5% is what we're required to pay. And we can choose to deduct 0.11% from any employee's wages. That sounds kind of like an irritant to me, the amount of money.
Do you know, maybe you know, Angela, what our, or maybe Cherry knows, what our weekly payroll wage is for the town? How much we pay in wages per week?
Let's say 7,000 roughly.
A week? Okay. So 0.444 would be, how much?
$280.
$300.
Yeah.
And employees would probably contribute $70 if we took it out of there.
Yeah.
I'd be inclined not to bother with it.
Yeah, me too. It doesn't seem to be worth the paperwork.
If you look at page 4, and you look at like employee 3, well, that's quarterly gross wages. But I don't think it's 300, is it? Because I look at one paycheck and I thought it was like $4 or something.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's like, what, $30 a week maybe?
You know, what do we get out of this? Does anybody know? We get
Another new tax, yes, it's brand new.
Okay.
Wonderful elected officials just passed it.
So an employee made $60,000 a year, they'd pay in roughly $250 a year. Well, we would pay in $250 a year on their behalf. And if we payroll deduct them, that'd be $60 per employee, you know, based on a $60,000 salary, as an example. So.
They've got the percentages inputted wrong here. One says 44% and then the other one is 0.0044%. It's the same with the 11% one for if you're self-employed. It's not 11%. It's,
No.
if it was 44 and 11%, that would be quite a lot of money.
Oh, I see it.
So they can't even get the language of the law straight. They're just drunk with power.
Wow.
Which we're not required to withhold it, it says, right? No requirement.
No, there's a threshold as well. And I don't remember the date it goes into.
July 1st, it went in.
It's July 1st, it was already. And so we already went through 2 payroll cycles.
So the only real question is, do we deduct that little amount from employees' checks?
Yeah.
I'd say I wouldn't bother.
You say what?
I wouldn't bother with it for what it's
Do you
gonna
need a motion to that
Yeah.
effect?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we don't bother the employee with the 0.11% off their wages and we pay it for the Vermont Child Care Contribution.
I'm still confused then. Do we have to pay it if they don't pay it?
We have to
Oh,
pay
yeah.
0.44. We can offset that 0.44% by charging them 0.11. That means we'd only pay 0.33.
Yeah, that's the way I see it.
So the motion is to not deduct it and pay it outright?
Just keep, yeah.
The
that-
4.4.
Yeah. Well, the question is like, we're gonna pay the 0.44 regardless. Do we charge the employee 0.11? And that's what we don't think it's worthwhile. I have that memorized. I'll second.
Go ahead, second it.
Okay, whatever.
I mean, it seems like we're on our way out, so.
I was just gonna say, do you have to do this?
Well,
Is it your wrong?
unfortunately, this is why business is
Oh.
Just still trying to wrap my head around the language of it. It's confusing to me.
sad, it's very sad.
It is.
Employees are not required to file or pay. So what if we didn't deduct it and they're not required to pay it, then no one has to pay? I don't get it.
Yeah, that's my question.
No.
Employers are required
We can just recoup some of it from the employee.
by taking it out of their check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's another line item like social security and Medicare.
See, employees are required.
Yeah.
And employees are not,
Not.
so it's optional. That's all.
I thought it was for the employers, they have to go read it again, that they could almost have an employee pay the majority. Is it 25%? I haven't read it in a couple of weeks.
Okay, the next thing we have to do is approve the municipal tax rate and local tax rate agreement. And somebody's already done the math for me, so you don't have to watch me up here on a calculator. Thank you for that. So total taxes to be raised were $1,388,741. The grand list, Form 411 states we have a grand list value of $2,448,407.99. That gives us an effective town tax rate of 0.6621.
How much was it?
0.6621.
Did that go up from last year?
It did.
Same.
It did.
Not much, no.
Not much, but it went up.
How many
It was 0.57 last year.
households, how many homes are we talking about that's in that?
Natasha, would you?
411?
4,000, 400?
No, how many? All right, so which we. So residential, we have 455,
455?
435, 435.
435.
So residential 2, we are more than 2 acres, we have 235.
Okay.
So total county parcels we have
600.
1,110.
So 435 residential, 235 R2, what's
Yes.
the remainder of the 500? Something else?
So yes, those are model homes, seasonal, commercial, utilities,
Vacant
farms,
property.
other purposes.
Okay.
So total parcels listed is 1,110.
Yeah, and I misspoke. I read 2023. Taxes for 2024, $1,621,159. Just make sure I had that right, divided by the $2,440,407.
Do we know off the top of our head how many new properties came? I mean, obviously through zoning and planning, we approved a lot of splitting and subdividing. Did that increase from last year? I'm just curious, it's not important. Just curious.
Come back to me tomorrow, I will give you comparative table.
Okay, thank you.
Easy.
I have a question. Now, non-residents pay a different tax rate, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
on the second or third page. It's not resident.
We have a lot of non-residents.
70%.
Non-homestead rate is 2.2345. And the homestead rate is 2.6895. And that's including schools.
That's a big difference.
What was the homestead rate again?
2.2345.
Correct. And I'm not quite, what is the contributor to that disparity? That has to be on the school side.
Yeah.
Is this true for the whole state then?
Yeah, some of them are closer than others.
Right,
You see how they affect them also.
right.
So essentially what's that's done is our homestead education tax rate went up 36%. And our municipal rate went up 15.4%.
The education's gone up 14% this year by the state, that's what the state passed. An additional 14%.
On your tax bill.
The other piece of this, right, is that if you're a resident, you have a homestead, your taxes are income sensitive, meaning you can get a tax rebate if you qualify on your income taxes. And I guess very few people take advantage of that, but it's significant. Henry, you had?
Just as a non-resident, one of the subjects that has come to mind for us is that we don't get to vote, and I'm not sure what the rules are, and I plan to investigate it, but even in my local community, I don't understand why non-residents who pay taxes in that community, I think, should have the right to vote on community issues. But that's just...
You're touching on the hot button.
Yes.
Well, maybe it's time we look at it.
I can fill you in. I'm very intimately involved.
Okay.
That's state statute, but yeah,
Yeah.
please have that discussion. That would
I'm
be.
sure it's nothing that we control,
Right.
But we can control it.
but we
That's
could
gonna take-
control it if we wanted to. I guess that's my...
We can, but it's gonna take some doing.
So just to clarify then, the homestead tax rate for residents, including municipal, is now 3.3516.
There's so much. Let's see. Non-residential. We should be at 2 point something.
The homestead rate is 26895, is that?
Yeah, 26895.
And the non-homestead rate is 2.2345.
Yeah, no, just up from 2.55 last year, total.
And then we have 2 state parks and a historic site. But now they don't pay taxes, do they?
I believe there's a payment in lieu of taxes. You know, all state lands, it's called, they pay some form of tax, if you will. Also, land that's in current use, there's a state subsidy for that as well. And that's why it's important that the listers will do a great job, assess those values or properties appropriately, so we capture that.
Do you know when, you may have said this, I'm having trouble hearing, but when is the townwide appraisal gonna happen?
Next year,
Next year?
2025.
Next year, like January?
March through end of summer,
Okay,
March through August.
so it's starting in 2025?
25,
Okay,
yes.
good.
And then we'll have a new rate for 2026.
Right, so in other words, we still have the CLA issue
Correct.
for the next tax year, which I hope we can
Well, you know,
tighten up our budget a little bit.
it doesn't,
It doesn't matter.
That's the state.
In theory, it doesn't. In
Right.
reality, the question would be like, is my house worth 40, 50% more now because somebody at Hawk sold a $1 million property? So that's the question.
This is why we put off our reappraisal so long, to be, perfectly transparent. We are hoping this market would settle and go back down. That was our goal.
I understand that.
It doesn't affect our municipal taxes at all, right? We all have the same slice of the slice of pie, and we're all gonna pay our share of it. What really impacts us is in the school taxes. So if our values go up, that's where we have a
Yeah,
problem.
but we're chasing Killington right now for
Mhm.
being,
And they're third in the state,
Worst.
apparently.
yeah.
When Michelle said they just completed Windsor, and the average increase over there was roughly 46 to 60% in property value. So,
So if it happens everywhere across the state, it's not a problem. But if it happens in isolated areas like ours, like mountain towns, it's a real problem for us.
What did, Bridgewater just went up.
Yeah.
Well, how much did we, I know
Double, so I've heard double in some cases.
because a whole slew of properties just came on the market.
Okay, I've never seen so many properties for sale in Bridgewater.
And they're sitting.
Yeah.
Just,
People waiting for the rates to go down.
they can't afford it.
No, this is scary.
It's very, very
Thing is, you're
scary.
selling, where are you gonna go? It's not any better anywhere else at the moment.
Well, we kind of have a choice to make, right, at this point, like how do we communicate to the state? I mean, this is, if it keeps going in this way, it's going to be a just sort of like an amusement park for tourists. There'll be no local
But no
people that
work
can
is
afford to live here.
Nobody's even gonna work.
It's happening in mountain towns all across the country. They drive a half hour or 45 minutes into work.
there's plenty of folks in the legislature who want it to be that. They want it to be Disneyland for their kind, so that they can bring in immigrants to run all the hard plow snow and everything, and buy all the houses of the working people, and have an Aspen community. So,
And that's why,
and if you talk to them, they'll tell you just that. So it's not, it's not far removed from the truth. So vote, go out and vote them out of office.
get rid of our current elected officials.
Well, if you want to lower your taxes, that's what you have to do. You can't send them back to Montpelier. You got to vote them out.
I had a conversation with one of our Senate reps who was just useless. Totally useless, doesn't give a damn. And it's sad, but people gotta hear it. It's gotta stop.
That's it. Any more comments on the tax rate? It's depressing. Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the tax rate. The local municipal town tax rate at 0.6621.
Yeah. Second it.
I vote yay.
Next up for discussion is a volunteer recreation director position.
Did we run that ad yet?
What is it?
Yeah.
Did we run that ad? I thought we, yeah.
What is that? What is that?
We are looking for someone to volunteer to start up a rec department. There's no money in the budget for it, but if we had a volunteer that would step up and try and get things organized, perhaps there would be some funding in a year when we do the next budget.
What would be the general job responsibilities?
Oh, there's a whole description that we came up with.
Oh, all right, I didn't see it, sorry.
Yeah, a while
Okay.
ago.
I couldn't begin to tell you. Where is that posted, Angela? Is it on the?
It's on our website.
It's on our
Oh, it's on our
website.
website, okay.
Thank you. And how many hours a week?
Depends on who the volunteer is and what time they have available. It's a volunteer position, so, I don't know.
I think it came out because people expressed an interest, right, in having,
Yeah.
but we don't have any money in the budget, so if they get a volunteer, fine, if not.
Goes.
Hey, I'll take
Table.
I'll take a look and maybe have interest.
Got a lot of resources in that, just gotta pull them together.
We'd have to
Check out
take,
the website, Rick.
Okay.
Read that description of that position.
And all of a sudden, the town's gonna have to build some pickleball courts.
We have a pickleball
we
court,
have one.
Okay.
Or have to expand.
built by volunteers.
That sounds kind of cool, actually. Okay.
Board to approve the errors and omissions statement from the listers.
This thing.
Because a few years after we launched our companies, so all these errors we discovered during our labor certification process.
Okay.
This process has to be done regularly, especially during the season, during this droughty, lodging season. So all these errors were recorded.
Okay.
Value were corrected. And new form, essentially new form 411 was given to you for tax rate.
Okay. $63,000
Yes.
difference. Okay.
Difference, yes.
Good work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know it was a process.
Yes. It's a lot of process to look through. Yes. Yeah. It's a lot of process to go through to certify each record in the systems in our system. Make sure that there are no other errors.
This was from that original list you had, right?
Yes. That was came from abstract and first final version of the ground lease. So certification has to be done again regularly of each record, preferably each record which were changed. So during that process, all these errors were discovered and corrected.
Angela, you have to certify this as clerk, correct? Is there any questions that you have?
No, not now.
And I'll make a motion to approve this.
A second.
And I'm not gonna sign it. I think Frame's gonna sign. Thank you.
That's my job.
Next up, we have the Rivers Project, a little bit of discussion on that. Margot, you attended the Rivers Forum down in Bridgewater?
I did, it was very interesting. But I was the only Plymouth person there, so.
So there's two phases of this, right? It's the same pot of federal funding. Those federal representatives will also be reaching out to the select board next month to ask about projects, but they really did want some public input. It doesn't sound like there was a ton of it.
Well, the select board has to apply.
Yes, yep. And one thing that came up for discussion, and Rick, you and Larry may have other ideas, or Keith, you might have something in mind. We're about to do the dredging down at the Tyson Bridge, right? We've had that flood damage at the Echo Lake Inn, Georgiana Whalen's property, the old office right next to the library. And so I think
That's already approved, Jay?
that is approved for dredging, right? So to make the condition better. But I think maybe we can ask for, we think a larger bridge might make sense there. I did run it by the engineer who's doing the site work for the material removal. And I said, what do you think about a larger bridge there? And he said at first glance, that makes a lot of sense. So maybe there's like some kind of feasibility study involved, or maybe it's just common sense, but that bridge is definitely a choke point for material.
That was one of the things they brought up when, as people were discussing the needs in their community, was that, you know, you need those big, they're not round anymore. They're oblong.
Well, you need it. The bridge could be the same size. You just need it to be deeper underneath it, right?
Maybe in long term, we might want it a little wider to let more volume go through.
Where exactly are they going to be dredging?
Um,
Right above the bridge?
Generally like underneath the bridge and then upstream for like 150, I think it's 150 feet.
Oh, okay.
You know, under my driveway now, it's dry. There's nothing, which is, I've never seen it that dry.
Well, are we soliciting ideas?
I think so. Or Rick may have a list
I talked to Larry when we were standing there about taking all that dead stuff out of there. He seemed to agree. I don't know if the state agrees, but I mean, when it was all the dead stuff that's along there all the way up, blocked the whole thing up. You know, it all washed down, and there's plenty of more dead stuff all the way up through there. You know, to take all that out of there would be a good idea. Whether you can get a machine in there or skid and winch, anything, just to pull it out of the way of the water.
They will have a machine down in the water, I believe. And I think the bridge up above it,
Oh, yeah, that other one.
they're gonna remove that big boulder. Isn't that part of a project, Rick?
Yeah,
Like that big giant boulder?
Tetro Road.
Yeah.
right.
So, if there's anything y'all think of, I mean, these guys are gonna be reaching out in the next.
Are they doing that survey now, Jay? Have they started it?
They started talking, they did the first phase, which is public outreach, then they'll be reaching out to us. I know there's a bridge on, is it Pollard, just below Pollard Road there, where the,
Yeah, right. That one needs some work too.
because there's two culverts there, right, big culverts, and that
Yeah.
might be
Yeah, I'm on Pollard Road, so.
below, right below, right where it turns into,
Scout camp?
yeah, Scout
Okay,
Camp
so that's,
Road.
okay, so Tyson Road.
yeah.
Or not Weaver Road.
Yeah.
Kingdom Road.
Because that's washed out a couple times.
Yeah.
And you still get them.
There's a lot of debris in there. I'm just gonna wait for those trees to keep falling. I keep looking, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to drive home and get creamed. It's scary.
Can I ask another bridge question, not to get off topic, but, so, Route 100 just below Route 4 that went out, got taken out last summer in July, and it's a temporary bridge because they had to wait for FEMA. Now, is that, is that our decision, or is that's state decision?
It's a state decision.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything from them as to, because they're gonna have to close the road again?
A couple years just to get the engineering done, is my understanding, right? So,
Okay,
I mean, that could be there for a while.
I mean, I don't know why they couldn't just leave it there, it's a perfectly good bridge. So, okay. That's just-
The culvert that's just north of my house, during Irene, it got clogged and washed away the road and was a big deal. The stones from the recent rains on the upstream side of that culvert are accumulating again. And I tried to call Vermont transportation folks and have them come out and assess it to see if they want to move them before they clog the culvert again. And I'm getting very little active response from them. I don't know if it's something that the town can help me with, or
Rick, you gotta talk to Scott a lot, don't you, about those things?
Yeah, is that Scott or Sanderson? Brian Sanderson?
Or Brian, yeah.
Yeah,
I think Brian is one of the names I've been trying to contact.
he's the one that would make that decision.
I'll keep trying to contact him. When Irene occurred, the state asked permission to come on our property to fix that culvert, and they certainly will continue to have that permission to do some preventive work to prevent that culvert from being washed out again. But I thought when I was here in June, you had a hard rain just before I got here, and that culvert was easily 65% full. And it won't take much more rain to fill it, and then it'll go around the culvert.
I would be glad to call Brian Sanderson.
I would,
I don't know how far I'll get with him, but I'll call him and ask him if there's something he could do.
right now, I'm not an expert on it. If they just come out and look at it and make an assessment on their own from their experience, it's certainly easier to get in there now and move stones around
Yeah.
than it is after an
Something we should be
event.
doing. Do you know where the culvert is he's
Yeah.
talking about? I don't, but
It's
we'll catch up after.
Where the house used to be, it's gone now,
Okay,
right next to it, but so it's just the other side of it. Yeah, come over and get me though.
all right. Okay.
We're there till Thursday or Friday if you want to come up and visit. I'll show it to you.
Okay. I'll call Brian, see what he
Thank
says.
you. Thank you very
Let you know. I'll let you know what he says. Okay.
That's the rivers and FEMA funding. I added this to the agenda with some discussion on Tech Impact, their technology provider. One that's been reasonably low cost, not cheap. But I was thinking about some of the holes in our IT. Our Microsoft licenses haven't been upgraded in a long time. The server, I think, support for that vintage server, I think expires this spring. So I don't know if we need to move, and nothing against Vince from Vermont Digital. They're great with hardware, but I just can't seem to get them on the security side of things. So I don't know if we need to go to a more managed type service. We need to do more ourselves. I mean, we can do more ourselves, but we need to really either get Vince on board, or I think there's just some holes that need to be plugged in IT security.
Where's the service here? So it's
It really should be transitioned to a cloud.
a cloud.
Yes.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
But, and where's the backup to the service?
It's done manually, is that?
To a
Yeah.
tape?
Yeah.
And where are those tapes? I've done a lot of IT work, so I'm gonna ask all the technical questions.
In a wall.
In the vault.
The vault? Yeah.
Here, not off-site. The first thing you should do is move all those tapes off-site to like Iron Mountain or some other storage, because if you lose those.
Right.
But
I just think we need to go to the cloud, and
Absolutely.
the sooner the better, the security's better. I don't know if we can get Vermont Digital to lead this. That's why I brought up the discussion of, this is a subscription service. They monitor everything. That costs some money. I can get a proposal. I just don't want to test the water here before I went too far with it. They only service nonprofits or, which in government basically is a nonprofit industry, so we are eligible to work with them.
Well, so if you need help, let me know. I'll help look at the
Okay.
specs and.
Okay,
I mean, what I'd be concerned about is security,
yes.
backups. How are they gonna, term we use, validate this stuff to make sure what you put in there stays there? And what about against attacks, cyber attacks?
Modern firewall, bots are doing it, all these DNS flood attacks, right? I mean,
This is all,
we're not as,
might be just do a massive upgrade.
Yeah.
Get it off-site with somebody who knows what they're doing and they're in the business to do it.
and this is generally like we're not purchasing any hardware, we'd be getting rid of hardware.
It would just be a subscription fee,
Yeah.
obviously, for the cloud-based software, but
And whoever takes on the project, right, whether that's in-house or we do it as a project, I don't know how you feel about it.
Who's gonna do it in-house?
I just start working a third shift,
You were gonna, that was your background.
yeah, what you should do is assign a
I
project
was waiting
manager.
for that.
Just
Get somebody right out.
Here comes the finger.
That's right, so you're
Yeah.
at high school, you're right.
That would be it, yeah. Other than Natasha, I don't think there's anyone qualified to do it in-house.
It's a lot of work, but in the end, you get a sense of security and peace of mind if it's in the cloud.
So there's other things like patches, antivirus updates, right? You migrate to the Microsoft system, you can remotely control devices, wipe them.
You can build all that into the proposal, because,
Right, cloud seems to be getting more and more secure. They also can get hacked. So it's understandable, but they are getting more and more secure. And what we gain from that is that they can be backed up automatically, so we wouldn't have to think about it. So it gives you peace of mind. So they also can get upgraded regularly, so you don't have to have that also waiver.
You'll have to, typically when they do these type of upgrades, put documentation control systems or environmental HVAC systems, they'll send you what's gonna be upgraded and somebody has to sign off on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put that into your files, so you know this was upgraded at this time. They'll do all the patches for you, they'll do all the security software, everything. And you should get at least 3 or 4 quotes though, because you're gonna see them range from a lot. And my understanding of Vermont Digital, they can't do this type of stuff because they're just not a security-based system, which was what you want, and stuff.
The one thing they are really good at is working like problems out with NIMRIC. So they're not like, they won't be obsolete, you know?
But they can come in on the back end if you need stuff,
Yep.
help with that.
Yep.
You know, but you would really want somebody who's an expert at digital software security and storage.
So have you asked what other towns do, like Cropland or Burlington?
I've asked around, and there's quite a variety. It depends on the size of the town, often in the security in place. Yeah, and that's why smaller towns are vulnerable. Just a question, Keith, you might know the answer to this. We use Gmail a lot, and I don't know who our website is hosted with, but that's not the question. So the question is, Google owns your data, right? And are we concerned about that using Gmail?
We have a Google Office suite. The element, that email is an element of that.
Yeah.
It's typically, you probably want to go to an outlet-based system, not Gmail. So if you're going to do this, you're probably going to need to change.
Use our domain, create an email from that.
Google's not secure. It's just not, and you can't, we use the term again, validate it. You can't test it so it stays secure. Anybody can hack into it. It's, Outlook's an industry-wide, especially in the pharmaceutical biotech industry, it's industry-wide standard because you can lock it down and you can control it. Nobody uses Hotmail or Gmail or any of those other things that are floating around out there. When you're looking at security, you would have to typically, what you may want to do is hire an auditor to come in and audit your whole software system. How you back it up, how you store it, your Outlook system, your email system, everything, and tell them where your gaps are. And that's what you would use to go to a company to make a proposal. You need that gap analysis to say, this is where we're vulnerable, what do we look at to fix it? And then you go out with the proposals to get that type of stuff. So you usually do it like this little step.
And I think for somebody, a place like us with the amount of hardware that we have, I bet you it's just gonna be a small thing, I'm guessing, I hope.
It'll just be around the security analysis. That's what you're gonna see. It's like you're vulnerable here, you're vulnerable here, you're vulnerable there. And how do you fix it?
Are you okay if we proceed with that?
That makes sense.
We'll just get a proposal, no money spent yet, we'll just.
And if you need help, I'm happy to volunteer to look at it. It's what I do for a living.
I don't have any objections to doing it.
Okay.
Workspace isn't like Google Workspace.
Yeah, Google's so difficult. It's very limited in its capabilities. That's the problem with Google. It's a very basic email system, but it doesn't do what you really
They
need.
will argue with you about that.
Well, it doesn't have security around it. That's the problem. Plus, Google owns all your data. That's the other issue.
So we'll get going on that pretty quick, and Rick will call you in for sure for some help
Yeah,
with that.
happy to lend some expertise if I can.
So back to the grader, I think I was just like looking at the Vermont League of Cities and Towns website like a week ago, and there's a grant out there for clean heavy duty vehicles for municipalities. I can't seem to put my finger exactly on it, but I think this is the one, offsetting the cost of replacing, well, this might not work, heavy duty class 6 and 7 commercial vehicles. Do you know what class 6 and 7 are?
I do not.
I had a picture of a grader on the thing when I was looking at it. And it says, place these vehicles with zero emissions vehicles. That doesn't sound right. Like, that's electric. We couldn't have an electric grader, but I don't even think they make one. But anyway, I did see a grant, picture of a grader on it. I can call the league. I didn't know if either of you had seen anything.
No, I hadn't seen that, Jerry.
And there's one about Vermont diesel emissions reduction assistance.
Vermont diesel emissions reduction.
So alternative fuel or new diesel options replacement. So that's, I think this is the,
I wonder if that would work. I wonder if we qualify for that.
I guess we'll call and find out which one, huh?
Yeah,
Which one it was.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, that might be a solution to the
might help a lot.
grader.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And as long as they can commit funds now, because even if you ordered one today, it wouldn't be what, a year
Yeah,
before you get one? Okay, all right. All right, that's all I have. That's all we have, except our executive session.
okay.
See you tomorrow night,
5:30.
5:30.
Here already. Looks like we're having a meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.